I've been with my girlfriend for 3 years. Our general dynamic is that she's very opinionated and has a very black and white perspective of thinking, especially when it comes to generalizations. Men and women cannot be friends, whereas I'm a lot more laid back, and I try to pride myself on being objective and seeing the gray area. My entire life, I've been able to connect better with women as opposed to men. Most of my closest friends have been women. I've been introduced to many romantic partners, or have met some of my exes by associating with these friends, but I have never dated, pursued or even thought about pursuing any of my actual friends. When I met my girlfriend, I was working in a restaurant, and was very close friends with a few of the servers. We'd go out for drinks/food, hang out alone, and keep in contact outside of work. My girlfriend, being very insecure, absolutely hated this. We would constantly fight about the fact that I had female friends. There was one friend in particular she absolutely could not stand. I'll call her Jess. I cannot even begin to tell you how many god-awful horrible fights there were over Jess. I was constantly accused, by my girlfriend, of being in love with Jess. Only being with my girlfriend to bide my time until Jess was single. At one point, I was even accused of being the father to Jess's aborted son. I am not exaggerating when I say that I was constantly harassed and interrogated every single day by my girlfriend about Jess and I's secret relationship. Jess did turn out to be a bad friend, and we stopped talking 2 years ago. Then it was any other friend that my girlfriend didn't like. I still have to listen to my girlfriend rant about Jess and I's secret relationship, by the way. This entire time, I am sent God only knows how many TikToks about how men and women cannot be friends. I am constantly told about men and women she knows in real life cheating and being cheated on with their friends. I am constantly told that if she ever has a guy friend, I should be worried because she's only friends with guys she feels some kind of way about. After a solid year of being constantly harassed by girlfriend about every non-lesbian in my life, we came to a compromise. I will not add any women on Snapchat. I will never hang out alone with another girl. After negotiating from if a girl is there, I shouldn't go, even though she initially agreed that it's okay for me to add friends and colleagues on Facebook and Instagram, as long as I actually know them. She still stalks my friends list and interrogates me about any new woman that may be on there. At this point, I started working in a more male-dominated field, and while I still have to listen to her speculate and accuse me of being in love with whichever random woman I work a shift with, it's usually just a sly comment and only occasionally a full-blown argument. About a year ago, my girlfriend confesses to something sus. The day my grandmother dies, she tells me that she was talking to her ex-situationship. This guy was a real boss. And when he had reached out to her previously, I gave her my blessing to talk to him and get closure, the only catch being they don't meet up, and she saves all the messages between them because she deleted everyone's messages off of her phone. He asked her to meet up with him and suck his dick. I had to argue with her to block him because she doesn't like to block people, and she finally relented, so I was obviously upset, because why was he unblocked? Her excuse was she unblocked everybody and he messaged her. That's weird, but okay, let me see the messages. She deleted them. Now I'm pissed, and emotionally from the fact that my grandmother just died we get into a fight and I demand she blocks him again. She says she did. The next day we go back to my place and I've already moved past it, until I playfully reach out to grab her phone and she rips it out my hand. She gives me about 3 bullshit reasons as to why she did that, then finally tell me it's because he didn't block her yet. At this point I'm furious. I feel betrayed. I feel even more upset because the night before she made another cheating accusation because it was suspicious that I was watching her place a DoorDash order on my phone, and here she is actually doing something sketchy. I ultimately compromise again and get over it. So fast forward to about a few months ago, my girlfriend has settled down quite a bit in regards to the whole cheating thing. I mainly associate with men now. There are women I work with, but we're not close. Seldom few are added into the abyss that I call my Facebook friends list or my Instagram followers, never to be interacted with. I am still accused of collecting women as backups. My girlfriend starts a new job at a hotel. She immediately connects with her manager, a guy I'll call Jeff. Jeff has a girlfriend, but apparently spends his entire shift pining after my girlfriend and shit-talking his girlfriend. He stays late on her shifts to help her. Their friendship progresses from the point of her calling him off the clock to come into work and solve issues at their job to him getting a job at the sister hotel and just going to my girlfriend's job to hang out with her. He calls her when he's bored, but not when he's around his girlfriend, because she doesn't want him talking to my girlfriend. He's openly admitted to her that he has a crush on her. She doesn't see a problem with this at all. What worries me, I have no idea how to proceed. I'm considering breaking up with her. But I feel I might be overreacting. I am worried about being cheated on, because our relationship cannot come back from that. But I am also incredibly upset by the double standard. How can I make her see my point of view that her behavior is hypocritical? Update 1. The honest truth? I love her. I still love her, and I can ultimately recognize that she was extremely hypocritical, emotionally abusive, and controlling. I never really believed that was the real her because when I met her, she had started the depot shot and that made her bonkers. As the effects of the shot wore off, she started to mellow out. Even though it was still bad, the very slow progress gave me hope, and that's what I held on to. It's very easy to look at my original post and think only of bad things because that's the only thing I shared. But we had so many great moments too. I did end up breaking up with her. With that being said, this is probably going to be a longer post. So if that's all the update you want, then you can stop reading here. After I made this initial post, I read every comment as they came in. Eventually, I ended up reading her my original post in full, and all of your replies. This was, of course, an issue for her. First it was, why would you do that? Why would you post our personal business online? Then it turned into, who cares what they think? They're just random people on the internet. We argued every day for about a week. I'll be honest, none of the advice really mattered. I didn't follow it. I love her after all, and I believed we could work it out. We talked a lot too. I genuinely believe she had no feelings for Jeff whatsoever. I also believed her when she told me that she told him that they would never be more than friends. Whether I was being gullible or not, the main issue now was with the double standard of her having a close guy friend when women aren't even allowed to look at me without it being a topic of argument later. So I did what I have done the entire relationship. I compromised my feelings and moved on, with the understanding that I would no longer be tolerating any accusations about me being unfaithful or my feelings of love/attraction towards other women. At that point we were talking about the argument, and instead of actually arguing, and we got on the topic of Jess again. My secret relationship and my love for her. I told her that I wasn't going to put up with it anymore. The subject then got changed to a girl I currently work with, Tiff. Tiff has been a subject of many fights between my girlfriend and I. I'm obviously in love with her because I tell my girlfriend that I can't stand her. I reassure her again and tell her that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I am then told that I'm being dismissive of her feelings. I tell her, I told you that I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. If you can't drop it, then I don't want to talk to you anymore tonight, and I hung up on her. The next day I'm at work, and I texted her asking if she was still in a mood, and she says no. Then she starts texting me huge paragraphs saying it's okay if you do like Tiff. If you can just be honest with me, we can work past it together. At this point, I'm starting to get frustrated, and I get upset. I was literally begging her to drop it. I finally just said, this is the last time I'm going to tell you, I do not have feelings for Tiff. Please, stop. I don't want to talk to you if this is all we're going to talk about. She then has the audacity to say, I think you do. I just don't think you know you do. You're too young to know how you feel, and you probably just don't realize how you really feel. This was my breaking point. As I sat there, staring at my phone, a singular comment from my last post just popped into my head. Imagine how much your mental health will improve once you dump her. And I finally just texted her that this isn't working out and that I'm breaking up with her. Like I had anticipated, she did not take it well. I've tried to break up with my girlfriend in the past. When we first started dating, she showed up to my home and threatened to kill herself if I left her. Call me stupid, but that worked on me. She knows that I have attempted before. She knows that I lost my best friend ever to suicide. And I told her if she ever threatened me with that again, I'd have her committed. She starts freaking out, calling me 10 times, while I am at work. Blowing up my phone, saying that she is in physical pain because I broke up with her. She can't breathe. Her chest hurts. I stick to my guns and just say, if that's really how you're feeling, I can call an ambulance for you. I keep telling her that I'm breaking up with her. I don't hear from her again for a few hours. She calls me on my way home from work, asking why I haven't texted or called her. She was so upset that she fell and hurt herself. I just keep telling her I can call an ambulance for you if you'd like. Eventually I say she's only embarrassing herself by making these threats, and if she doesn't stop, I'll call the police and have them commit her. Then she starts telling me that I don't care about her. I don't love her. The whole 9 yards. I just keep saying I love you so much, and this breaks my heart, but my mental health is suffering because of the way you treat me. Finally she just tells me that I can't break up with her. I don't have a good reason to, and I say I'm a grown adult in the United States of America. I can break up with you because the sky is blue if I so desire. You're probably wondering why I haven't just blocked her at this point. And it's because I was genuinely terrified that she would show up to my job and make a scene, or show up at my house. Which leads me to the next part of the story. She keeps asking me how long I'm going to be mad at her, and being in denial about the fact that we've broken up. The next morning, I woke up really early to take my roommate to work. I changed my relationship status on Facebook to single and changed my profile picture. On my way home, she calls me again. Where are you? Why aren't you home? I freaked out, screaming at her on the phone, you better not be inside my house, leave my house, yo, you lunatic, stuff like that. I even threatened to call the police on her and get a restraining order. She calls my bluff. I pulled into a parking lot where I can see her car in front of my house. She was never in my house, just in the parking lot. I texted her to leave and keep telling her I'll call the cops. She stops answering. I didn't want to call the police, mainly because I've often seen them weaponized by the woman in my life, which is another reason I didn't want to confront her. So I called her dad instead. I told him the situation, and it turns out he followed her to my house. They lived together, to get her to leave. I later find out that Jeff did call her the day we broke up. He was happy that her relationship with me was over. She cursed him out, and blocked his number. I just keep telling her that the fact that it even came to this, just proves that she doesn't respect me. The next few weeks have been her calling and texting me to work things out. Multiple paragraph apologies. Promises of change. Her family started out as understanding and supportive of me, but as of lately have just been randomly calling me behind her back to ask how long is this going to go on because she is incredibly depressed. Despite the fact I've made it clear that as of right now, I have no intention of taking her back. After one phone call from her stepdad, where he started to raise his voice, I just hung up and blocked her whole family. I just keep telling her the same thing. I have no intention of getting back together with you. Maybe in the future, after you work on yourself, we can talk about it. I haven't blocked her, because I do care about her. I want her in my life, just not in a romantic sense. I tell her that if she can't handle just being my friend, that I will have to stop talking to her altogether. And that just because I am her friend, I don't want her to think that means we are getting back together. Last time I spoke to her, a few days ago, it seems that she's finally understanding the gravity of the situation. She is taking accountability and has already met with a therapist. We've been broken up for about a month and a half. I do feel a lot better mentally. I feel kind of free. I don't have to justify anything to anybody. I also feel alone and a bit depressed at times. I feel stupid for letting someone emotionally bully me into getting rid of all my close friends. Now on to second story. Wife's affair shattered our family and left my stepdaughter trapped in fear, begging me not to leave her too. My 47 male stepdaughter, who we'll call Phoebe, lost her dad when she was 7. She remembers him as her hero, and I try to keep his memory alive for her as much as I can. My wife, 45F, and Phoebe's father were divorced when he passed away. I had met him a few times and always admired how much he loved his daughter. We had about 2 years of co-parenting before his passing, so I was there to support both Phoebe and my wife. It was a tough time for all of us. Phoebe was feeling isolated and confused, my wife was distressed, and I was devastated to see them both hurting. I did my best to provide support, even though we weren't wealthy. My main goal was never to replace her dad, so Elle was surprised when Phoebe started calling me dad when she was 13. It still warms my heart every time she says it. As the years went by, Phoebe and I grew closer and learned to navigate our unique family situation. About 6 months ago, my wife started pulling away. I thought it was just a midlife crisis, but looking back, it was clear signs of infidelity. She had late work projects, business trips, and seemed distant. She didn't even want intimacy. At the same time, I noticed Phoebe more anxious around her mother. She would avoid me and spend less time with me, which hurt, but I chalked it up to teenage angst. I tried talking to Phoebe, but she would avoid me and stay in her room or out late. She wouldn't even share about her day with me. And I realized something was really wrong. I snooped on our shared iPad and found messages from someone named Fiona. Turns out, Fiona is a 40-year-old man. I was feeling a mix of emotions, disgust, anger, and hurt. But one question kept nagging at me: why was Phoebe acting so strangely? The following evening, I was driving Phoebe to therapy when I decided to ask her about her feelings towards her mom working so much. This seemed to make her defensive. She raised her voice and insisted that she didn't care, that it was just work and everything was fine. We went back and forth for a couple of minutes until she finally asked me, "Do you know?" That's when she dropped the bombshell. Not only had my wife been cheating on me for 8 months, but Phoebe had caught her in the act. I felt betrayed, but that feeling quickly turned to rage when Phoebe explained why she hadn't told me. My wife had threatened her, saying it would be her fault if I left and never came back. As heartbreaking as that was, nothing could have prepared me for what Phoebe said next. "I'm sorry, really. I just didn't want to lose 2 dads. I don't think I could handle that again. Please don't leave, Daddy." I tried to hide my emotions, to reassure her that I wasn't going anywhere, but deep down, I was seething. Hurting me was one thing, but bringing my daughter into it was unforgivable. I wanted to scream, to cry, to see that woman suffer for what she had done to my daughter. But I knew that wasn't an option. All I could do in the moment was reassure my girl. That's what I had to do. I haven't told my wife that I know. I don't know what to do next. Update 1. The initial 6 hours proved to be quite tumultuous. Phoebe appeared noticeably tense and apprehensive, probably fearing her mother finding out. She clung to me, even going so far as to endure watching baseball, a sport she typically despises. Her conversations with her mother were marked by a hint of irritability, a behavior I chose not to address as I normally would. It seemed as though the dynamics of our relationship had shifted, with Phoebe now exhibiting the same volatile behavior that I had previously experienced. Gradually, she came to realize that she was in a safe environment, and began to relax her grip on me. However, her demeanor towards her mother remained curt. Phoebe and I had a chat about what she wants, and she expressed a desire for me to have full custody of her. She also opened up about some other emotional abuse she has endured from her mother. I assured her that I would do my best to gain full custody, but explained that since I never officially adopted her, I may only be able to get visitation rights. She also asked about emancipation, which I admitted I know very little about, so we decided to look into it together. I'm really hoping Phoebe can keep up her grades next year, as she's on track for a music scholarship to a good university. She's been spending a lot of time playing her violin since our chat, and I'm happy to see her using music as a way to cope. I'm not pushing her on school stuff right now since it's the end of the year and won't affect her GPA. I'm just hoping she can get back to her usual driven self by September. Phoebe is definitely not acting like your average teenager, but she's starting to show some of her old self again, which I'm grateful for. It made me so happy when she started teasing me again. However, I can't help but wonder if she's hiding her true feelings behind her jokes. She has a tendency to keep her emotions bottled up until she can't take it anymore. She hasn't said much besides feeling relieved about not hiding things from me anymore, so I'm not sure if I should be more concerned. As for my wife, I wish I could say I've stopped caring about her, but a part of me still loves her. I try not to dwell on those thoughts for too long because I believe the best thing for Phoebe is to get both of us away from her mother. I've been reflecting on my own childhood and how my feelings were often overlooked when my parents made decisions. I never want Phoebe to experience that same feeling, especially since she will be the one most affected by all of this. Phoebe is currently seeing 2 therapists, one specializing in CPTSD for events I haven't discussed here, and another specializing in OCD. I have faith that they will be able to support her through this challenging time. I'm in the process of looking for a lawyer, and I've been a bit distant with my wife lately. It feels strange to ask Phoebe to keep quiet about what I know, so I've decided not to bring it up. If she does end up talking about it, I won't hold it against her. I've been gathering evidence from texts and bank statements, and it turns out my wife spent around $8,500 on the other guy. I can't believe how clueless I was. This'll probably be the last update for a while, so I'll update again when I speak with a lawyer and decide exactly what I'm going to do. Update 2. Phoebe took her life on June 17th. It feels like it's my fault. I can't believe her bright light is just gone. The day before was Father's Day, and Phoebe approached the topic of a possible adoption, or maybe emancipation with my wife. It soon turned into a fight, as her mother thought it would be a waste of time since Phoebe would have been 18 in a little over a year and a half. Phoebe kept arguing that it was for sentimental reasons and that she's wanted to be adopted by me for so long. I don't know if my wife was just paranoid, or if she already suspected that I knew about her cheating, but she began to get more hostile. My wife ended up saying something along the lines of, "You'd still have your real dad if you hadn't stressed him into doing drugs." That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Phoebe had a meltdown like I'd never seen before. She was cursing her mother out, crying, throwing things, and it was all just so out of character neither my wife or I knew what to do. The rest of the night was eerily quiet. Neither my wife or Phoebe pushed the matter any further. Phoebe cleaned up her mess, apologized to me for ruining my special day, and went upstairs. There was no warmth that night, no sit-down dinner, just silence. I guess we were all in shock. I'd love to say my last conversation with Phoebe was something positive, but it wasn't. I'd like to say I told her how much I love her, but I didn't. All I cared about was being reimbursed for the damages she'd caused during her meltdown. Maybe if I hadn't been so selfish I would have noticed how dejected she looked. Maybe if I'd handled the situation for what it was, a mental breakdown, instead of an act of defiance, she would still be here. But she isn't, and there's nothing I can do. I should have seen it coming. There were plenty of signs, I was just too stupid to see them for what they were until she didn't wake up. I could have gotten her more help, but I didn't. There were little things like, "Hey Dad, if I die make sure to play Dreaming of You at my funeral, and if I die before you, make sure I'm wearing a suit instead of a dress in my coffin," and the one that seems to be the most obvious, "Play at your best, you are love, at my funeral for my girlfriend please." I thought those were just distasteful jokes most teens make. I've never been so stupid in my life. The days leading up to her funeral are a blur, I barely managed to pull myself together the day of. I was so angry at my wife, and also at Phoebe. I was angry because I wish I would have listened to her obvious pleas. I was angry at myself for not being approachable enough. I made sure all of her requests were fulfilled. She was lowered into the ground with Dreaming of You playing on a speaker. I hadn't cried the entire day until then. Perhaps I should have chosen one of the other songs she requested, because that one broke the stoic demeanor I was trying to convey. I guess it was both the tragedy behind the artist that my daughter held so near to her heart, and the realization that Phoebe's really gone. As she was being lowered, it was just my wife, myself, Phoebe's girlfriend, and a few other very close people. The music was a respectable volume, though somehow deafening. That's it. She was just gone. Her girlfriend was not handling it well, and she disappeared shortly after the reception following the burial. I felt terribly for her, though I couldn't bring myself to say anything, which is another thing I regret. I'm starting the process to divorce my wife. I can't look at her without having flashbacks to the look on Phoebe's face when my wife said those horrible things. There is no recovering from this. That girl meant the world to me, and now it seems like there's no point to doing anything. My wife can take all our assets for all I care.